What was the greatest pleasure you ever felt? When a multi-day, vomit-inducing migraine finally lets go. I swear the brain gets flooded with good chemicals after that, and you feel better than normal. I lay on the bathroom floor convinced I was going to just die. The pain just takes you to another place. Waking up the next morning feeling normal again was the best. The moment my sister came home from the hospital after almost dying. Getting a job offer of your dream job days after rounds of interview and assessments. Wake-induced lucid dreaming and flying in said dream. Never felt anything more pleasurable before. I used to be a competitive swimmer and was a lifeguard for the better part of 6 years. I used to have dreams of flying at the bottom of the crystal clear ocean. I still remember the sensation, the controlled breathing, my arms outstretched just gliding along. Watching people enjoy food I cooked. It never gets old. This one is kind of gross. For your information, I got surgery to fix a broken nose so I could breathe better. This involved having my nose packed with packing, essentially tampons, for a few weeks. It wasn't the removal of the packing that was amazing. It was the first time I blew my nose shortly after. It felt like a 1-2 cup of mucus was pulled directly from my brain and there was a golf ball sized result in the tissue. The best feeling I ever experienced was directly after that, where breathing through my nose was so incredibly easy. I felt like a superhuman who conditioned in the ants for months of something. I laughed with excitement. I once had a massage where I could feel what I can only describe as strings of stress being pushed out of my back. I could actually feel these things being ungrouped and pushed out of my shoulder blades. I still try and get massages when I can, but have never felt that since. It was a magical moment. Getting that piece of popcorn out of your teeth. It was Christmas Day, and I was eating a pomegranate when one of the seeds became firmly lodged between molars. I tried floss and dental picks and toothpicks, and the harder I worked to get it out, the more firmly lodged it became. I knew I was facing being stuck with that seed between my teeth until after New Year's. If I couldn't find someone to help, I called every single dentist in the phone book, and finally a receptionist actually answered the phone and said they would be there until 4, and yes, they could fit me in. And getting that pomegranate out between my molars was the best Christmas present ever. Finishing a marathon. I trained for 3 months, and although a decent athlete already, I had never run more than 8 miles. I worked really hard to compete and ran the first 20 miles slightly faster than expected 8 miles. Before hitting the famous wall at mile 20, my speed dropped drastically, but kept going without walking. As I approached the finish, I saw my GF and friends cheering me on as I pushed through the end, and wept for 5 minutes from pure joy and pain. I get chills thinking back on it, and have no idea if I'll feel it again should I train for another. Sitting down for the first time after completing my first marathon. I swear that feeling was better than any orgasm. Shit almost made me cry. This is weird, but the day I decided 100% to quit my toxic full-time job and retake my life, even knowing I had no fallback. Driving 2 hours from my girl's house with the windows down. On a summer night with a warm breeze tussling my hair like getting a head pat by an angel. Spiritual State by New Jades playing. This overwhelming feeling of sincerity and resolve took me over. Everything was on point. It wasn't a blast of pleasure you get when you do something cool like jumping off a 15-foot waterfall, but more of a glaze over of goodness and self-care, like my world opening up again. Getting my back scratched. The first time I was in the barrel of a wave while surfing. It was so loud and quiet at the same time. I think I could hear aliens talking to me. This might sound stupid, but a few years ago, I was desperate for love. I craved it in a very unhealthy way. So much so I had become depressed. I got very close to a dear friend who was similar to me. One day, I walked to her house with her, and right before we parted ways, my body acted on its own and hugged her. We were both surprised, but she really liked it. During the hug, I felt something gently passing through my hair. It was her hand. She was caressing my hair during our hug. No one had ever done that to me before. In that moment, I felt an extremely intense happiness flow through me. That single action gave me the best pleasure of my life. We ended up getting together a few weeks later. I know it might be different than pleasure, but I wanted to share this moment. I consider this to be the happiest moment of my life. Poland. 2002. I'm strapped into a C-130 in full combat equipment preparing to jump as part of an airborne training operation with the 173rd Airborne Division. We took off out of Aviano Air Base in northern Italy. For whatever reason, my dumbass didn't pee all that morning. Not when I got up. Not after PT. Not after breakfast. As I stood in the airfield, after getting my harness and pack on awaiting a jump master to check me out before boarding, I realize I really had to go. Once a jump master looks you over and clears you to jump, you cannot touch your equipment. Not unless you want to get smoked for wasting their time. So there I sit in the plane en route to Poland. I'm 22. This is my 9/10th training jump, not counting those in airborne school. The ride is 3 some odd hours. I now have to pee so bad I feel like my eyes are turning yellow. I have heard stories of guys just pissing themselves on long flights. Not sure if you all have seen the inside of a C-130 full of airborne troopers, but we are packed the heck in there like sardines. I can't move. I refuse to piss myself. I'm a grown-ass man, damn it. The flight is excruciating. Let me just say that on every jump I have made prior to this one I get the jitters. Normal jitters. The kind you get because your brain has told you how illogical it is to be jumping out of an airplane. I have none of that now. Just a single focus, get the duck off this bad by any means necessary. The doors open as we near the drop zone. I stand up and hook up, and I'm literally crossing my damn legs to keep from pissing myself. Because my reserve chute and rucksack are tied onto the front of me covering my legs, I can't get at my dung. But I promise you all, if I could have, I would have been squeezing it like a 3-year-old to keep from pissing my pants. The green light goes on. I literally begin shoving the guy in front of me to get out the door. No fear, no thought to checking my line, looking at the drop zone before I jump, or even looking to see what the weather is doing. I'm in the air, my chute opens, and I pull my release that allows my rucksack to fall free of my body without even looking if a fellow trooper is below me. As I approach the ground, I'm mid-air fumbling with my BDU pants button to get my dung out before I even make contact with the ground. I hit the deck and, instead of releasing the catch on my chute that would release it and let it collapse, I roll sideways and start to go. Yeah, it felt so good to piss. It was like an ongoing orgasm that lasted for a full minute. It felt so good, in fact, that I don't immediately notice I'm being dragged across the ground by my chute like a traveling golden shower show. I'm literally being pulled through a field in Poland, passing fellow soldiers, pissing sideways as I move. I barely register my squad laughing their asses off at the image of me with my dung out, leaving a stream of piss on the ground as my chute propels me through the field. I'm now 41, and to this day it was the most pleasure relief I have ever felt. Even getting made fun of by my unit for it for the next few months did nothing to put a dent in how good it felt. The greatest non-sexual pleasure I've ever felt was 32 years ago. I was swimming with friends in the Pacific Ocean at Balboa Park in California. I got wiped out by a huge wave. My friends helped me out of the water, and I went and laid on the grass underneath palm trees looking up at the clear blue sky. A feeling of peace just washed over my body. I've never felt that kind of thing again. When my abuser was sentenced to 35 years in prison, no chance of parole. Probably when I began to go to the gym. The first day was very rough because I have never went to a gym before, so I was really tired. When I got home, I just took a hot shower. I let myself fell into my bed and man, I fell asleep like in 5 seconds. Bro, I really slept well that night. The best sleep I've ever had. I have an extremely rare, maybe 100 in the US genetic anomaly that makes susceptible to growing GI tract and other cancers. I just had my 45th surgery. My younger sister has had 70. It's not the anesthesia I enjoy, but the pre-anesthesia drugs they give you in the waiting bed. while under warmed up blankets, hours of near bliss and conscious to enjoy it. Gotta look at the sunny side, right? I had a dream that I was a toaster. I woke with a feeling of anticipation. Then I made toast with pure concentration. Afterwards I was entirely fulfilled, having accomplished the ultimate purpose of my existence. You win. Nobody will ever understand this, but you do, you buddy. You make that toast. Hearing I love you for the first time, unconditionally, after growing up in a house of abuse and trauma. Putting my feet on near my radiator after coming home from a cold day. Consider subscribing if you enjoyed this video, and if you want to see more of Reddit Universe.